Good morning, dear students. In the previous part of this chapter, we saw how, after attaining the Diwani of Bengal, the Britishers they got a new source of income, the right to collect revenue. The revenue collection was made easier for them by adopting various policies. They adopted various policies like permanent settlement, Mehalwari system or the Roytwari system to collect revenue conveniently. But do you think only revenue collection was the motive behind acquiring control over the rural areas of our country? No, it was not so. They had a hidden motive behind this, and that motive was procurement of certain crops from our country. Europe being a temperate zone nation, it was not possible to grow all sort of crops in Europe. Therefore, they had to depend on other countries for certain crops. They decided to procure those crops from India, and they convinced the farmers in our country to grow the crops for them. For example, they convinced the farmers of Maharashtra to grow cotton for them. They convinced the people of Assam to grow tea for them. The people of Bengal to grow jute and indigo for them. The people of Madras to grow rice for them. It was a period of industrial revolution. Many textile industries came up in Europe, especially in Britain, France and Italy. These textile industries manufactured clothes on machine, and these machine-made clothes were very much in demand in the British and European market, especially the printed or the dyed clothes. For printing or dyeing the clothes, they required either indigo or woad. Woad was locally available while indigo was to be imported from other countries. When you compare both the products, woad gave violet and blue color, whereas indigo gave rich blue bright color. Woad was quite pale and dull. Although woad could be grown in Europe, it was not preferred by the cloth dyers in Europe. They decided to import indigo from other countries. Industrial Revolution further advanced and the demand for indigo kept surging up. The countries like Britain, France and Italy, they turned up to their colonies for production of indigo. Indigo production now started in countries like Brazil, Caribbean islands, Jamaica, West Indies and North America. The main supplier of indigo were West Indies and America. But after few years, with the advancement of Industrial Revolution, when more and more industries came up and the demand went too up, West Indies and America were not able to provide the supplies because of various reasons. At this point of time, British East India Company decided to expand its indigo business in India. The reason was the climatic condition and the land quality in India was best suitable for indigo cultivation. And they selected Bengal for indigo cultivation. Within few years, Bengal became dominant supplier of indigo to Britain. Many British officials even left their jobs and started getting involved in indigo business in order to earn high profit. Initially, to attract the farmers, they promised to pay high rates for indigo, and also they promised to help them by providing low interest rates, seeds, and drills, etc. Many farmers got attracted to this and they started cultivating indigo in their farms. Bengal indigo production flourished. Two different systems were adopted for indigo cultivation. The first system is known as niche cultivation. Under this system, the planters cultivated indigo in lands that they directly controlled. That is, they either used to purchase land or they used to rent out land from the zamindar. After that, they used to hire labor and cultivate indigo. In this system, they required large land holdings and large number of plough and bullocks. Large land holdings were required so that they can set up indigo factories near to the cultivation areas itself. The problem that they faced were the planters required fertile land. Most of the fertile areas were densely populated, and because of it, large land holdings were not available. They could only acquire scattered small holdings, but that was not sufficient for them. Also, the cultivation time of indigo was same to that of rice. That's why even getting large number of plough and bullocks was not possible as they were engaged in rice production. The planters, in order to acquire large land holdings, tried forcefully acquire land. They started evicting the farmers from their land. The farmers resisted to it, and therefore the cultivators had to face conflicts and tension. The second system adopted was the royalty system. Under this system, the planters used to get contract signed by the village headman or the farmer. It was done either by persuasion or by force. The farmer, those who used to sign the contract, had to grow indigo in at least 25% of their land. Once they signed the contract, the planters used to provide them with low interest rates and also seeds and drills. Once the crop was ready, the crop was to be delivered to the planters and they could get new loans. This loan tempted the farmers to sign the contract, but later on they understood the problems in this system. The farmers, they realized they were getting trapped in the cycle of loan. They could not come out of it, and they were not having the option to refuse also. They could not refuse to grow indigo. Although initially high prices were promised, final price given for indigo were very low. Also, indigo production required the most fertile soil, and therefore when more farmers started using fertile soil for indigo production, the food production decreased. Continuous indigo production led to depletion of the land quality. After growing indigo for a long period of time, the land becomes unsuitable for agriculture. There came a stage when the area started facing acute shortage of food grains. People were having money, but then also they could not purchase food grains. In the long run, the farmers realized that indigo cultivation was an ultimate loss for them. They started refusing to grow indigo. And the laborers, those who were working in the indigo factories, they also faced large number of problems. First of all, indigo processing was a time-consuming and exhausting process. All the work in the factories were to be done manually. The working conditions were not good. The crop was to be collected from the field. Then it has to be kept in different vats for various processes like fermentation, sedimentation and all. The worker had to stand inside a vat and beat the liquid continuously for a long period of time. Slowly, the workers, they started facing many health issues like skin diseases and respiratory diseases. So, they also started to refuse or oppose the indigo factories. All these conditions led to a new revolt, a new rebellion that was named as Blue Rebellion. The farmers, they refused to grow indigo in their fields. The laborers and workers at plantations refused to work in the plantations. Even if someone used to agree, they were socially boycotted. The Gumastas, that were the agents of the planters who used to come to collect the rent, they were beaten up by the people. The people, they refused to pay rent also. Also, the Lathials, that were the security people in the factories, were attacked by the people. This revolt became stronger day by day. This revolt was supported by the village headmen and many of the zamindars who lost their freedom because of this indigo planters. Slowly, the revolt spread over large areas of our country. When British officials came to know about it, they got worried because after the revolt of 1857, they didn't want to take any risk. As a result, they appointed officials to visit the countryside and take account of the situation. In this series, Magistrate Ashley Eden visited many places and finally issued a notice not to compel the farmers to sign indigo contract. The Britishers thought with this the condition will become normal, but it was not so. By this time, many intellectuals from Calcutta, they reached indigo districts and they started writing up about the plight of the indigo farmers and the atrocities of the planters. The revolt further spread and the government was forced to set up Indigo Commission. Indigo Commission inquired into the matter and held the planters guilty. The commission asked the rights of the farmers to fulfill their existing contract and give them the choice to refuse indigo production in future. Slowly, indigo production collapsed in Bengal. The planters shifted their base to a new place, that is Bihar. Afterwards, in 1917, the indigo cultivation was flourishing in Bihar and the cultivators were facing many problems. This was the period when Mahatma Gandhi came back from South Africa. The farmers from Champaran, Bihar, persuaded Mahatma Gandhi to help them. Gandhiji started Champaran movement and the British were forced to nearly stop the indigo operation in Bihar. By this time, synthetic dye were available. Therefore, indigo operations nearly came to an end.